browser is something that you need to be using when you're using Google tools. But to me, it's just a more efficient way to do anything. Up here in this corner, you can click to log in. Look, the little icon. So, Mike, I have to be honest. I don't log into Chrome and sync everything just because I don't always know what information is going to go where, and I don't want it to pop up everywhere. So, would you mind talking people through your wisdom on that?
Sure, no problem. So I would recommend in these extenuating circumstances, we should sync and we should link. So when you do and download Chrome, if you've not done that already, you definitely want to install that, whatever device you're on, unless you're on a Chromebook, it's already there. And then, yeah, you definitely want to sync. Do you want me to present on mine or?
Yes, please do. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop
right.
sharing and you grab that.
Okay. And I've been using Zoom, so this is kind of my first foray into Google Meet during this stuff. So I apologize if the tech support is not very supportive.
No, that's okay.
So
we
here we
learn by
go.
doing so.
That's right. Okay, so here we go. Okay, can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. And can you see my cursor right up here in the upper left, or upper right, excuse me? It's
Yes.
kind of hovering over an alien. Okay, good deal. So that alien is me for now, just because on this machine I changed my avatar. But right here, it should either be an initial for your first name, so it would be an M for me. If you click on that, you can now see whatever account you're signed in under, okay? So you definitely want to make sure that that says your email address right there. And you'll notice this part right here where it says sync is on. Yours probably, if you've not synced, will say turn on sync or something like that, and you will want to do that. Everything that we're talking about here is not going to work, especially once we get to Google Classroom, is not going to work if you are in a personal Gmail account. You might get to Drive and you might even be in this meeting, but everything else is going to be broken unless you're in a Hamilton County account. So, like I said, turn on sync unless you're sitting in a public library somewhere. You'll be fine syncing with any device that you have at home. I am not going to turn mine off and then back on just because it almost always breaks the link here, and I don't want to go through that. So just understand that's where you go. Any questions about that? And since I'm presenting, let's see, one of you guys, are y'all monitoring the chat?
Yes, it's clear right now.
Okay.
Cool.
So, Mike?
Yes.
I have.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey, I was up in the right-hand corner and clicked on my initial, and now on my screen, I see my initial as the full screen and not your screen.
Okay. So you don't see my screen at all?
No. I see you in the left-hand corner. I see your picture, and it says Mike Ballard is presenting.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, you just keep going, and I'll listen.
Yeah. Or you could jump out and jump back in.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. That's when it's broken, restart, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Mike, I think that's why I was steering away from sync, because in the past I broke something and it was like all these things were connected that I just didn't know how to fix. So I just said, now.
Yeah.
Totally
understand. Yeah, sync is not something that we need to be afraid of. You need to be mindful of it, but don't be afraid of it. It will definitely help stuff as we go through this process.
Okay, that sounds
Uh,
good. That's a great tip. I didn't know.
Okay. Do you want me to turn it back over to you, or you good
Yes.
with that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Monica's back up. And sorry, let me turn. There we go.
Lots of clicks. Hold on. Reasons. Okay. So I love that we have there's the various voices from the county joining in because my experience is more in the classroom, maybe not necessarily so concerned with all the syncing, but then Mike gives us the reasons why we need to be doing that. So I'll go to the next slide. So the Chrome browser, like I said, is the best way to get the most out of your Google tools. And now we know syncing. I'll add that to the presentation. The second point, your top address bar is also a search bar. So I know I've had teachers, people that I've known search Google to get a Google search box, and it's just redundant. So if you just type into that box, it's called the Omni box. It is also a search bar, and so it just makes it a lot easier. And if you want to be really cool and specific, like say you're searching YouTube.com, then you do a space, then it searches within YouTube for you. So I won't do that obviously, but so the top bar is your search bar. It just saves you some time if you're trying to find something, maybe if a student asks you a question. And then the top right corner shows you what account you're signing into. So this one is very important to me because I have 3 different accounts. Some people have way more, but this pink one is the one I use for Google Voice so that I can connect with the families in my classroom through phone calls, texts, that sort of thing. And then I don't have to give them my actual phone number because, instead of maybe running into an issue and having to change my number, they use Google Voice. So this pink one I know is my classroom. So if you look at, let's see, you go to another tab and I'll show you. So you see this picture right here. This goes to my Hamilton County account, which we all have this pop up. But then I also have my personal account. So monicaspillman@gmail.com. So I know when I'm like, say if I want to go to a different Drive account, I just click on that picture and it'll show me which Drive account I'm in. So if I'm creating a new file, I do not want to be, if I'm creating it for school, I don't want to be in my personal account because then I'll have to do all kinds of tricks to get it in the right place. So if I look for this picture, then I know I'm in the right place. So if that doesn't make sense, let me know. But you can have many Gmail accounts, and our Google Drives are a Gmail account, even though, well, I guess technically it's not Gmail, it's Google, but we don't have mail access through Hamilton County Schools. But it's very important to know which account you are using when you are creating classrooms or documents or anything like that. So does that make sense? Does anybody have questions about that? Please ask Mike and he can chime into me. Let's see.
Let me ask real quick, because I do have the ability to reset passwords. Is there anybody that's having trouble signing into their Hamilton County account? If so, put it on chat and I can reset your password. If you're in this meet, you're probably good, but it is possible to join this meet without being in a Hamilton County account.
That is true. That is true. I've heard people say they had no clue how to get into their Drive account, which is what I call it for Hamilton County, the Drive account, since we don't have Gmail. But yeah, you definitely want to have that access.
Okay, I'm seeing no requests, so
Okay. All right. So like I said, your Google account for HCDE is the only one you should use for creating resources for school if you're not very familiar with Google. So in the corner, you can change, like you see here, the little pink, you can change that. So you notice I had 3 different visuals. I had the this M is for my basic Google Voice, generic one I'd use for my classroom only. I don't use it for email or anything, just Google Voice. And then the other ones had different pictures of me. And those are very easy to change. If you go to manage your Google account right here, it will allow you to change this icon. So you can upload a photo or anything and just change it so that it's just it's distinguishable from different accounts. It's just a good way to stop you from accidentally putting something in the wrong place and you can't find it if you're not very familiar with Google. And then when our Google account that is created by Hamilton County is also connected to YouTube and many other Google products. So you do have a YouTube channel there for you at your, to use as you would like. And it's connected through your Hamilton County account. So it's easy to create playlists and things like that. Also, you can go back and look at the search history, what you've shown students and that sort of thing. So that's good to know. Not everyone knows that YouTube belongs to Google. So you do have an account at YouTube if you have a Gmail account. Google Drive. Google Drive is your big giant file cabinet in the sky. So in the file cabinet, you always have folders. And so the way that I like to do it is make sure that all documents begin within the folder where they need to live. So instead of just, unless I'm in a big hurry, which is not very often with students, I will create the document within the folder that I need it to be found in later. And so you can color code the folders very easily. I'll show you this in a minute. You can embed many folders within a folder in order to have your home screen of your Google Drive look very clean, and then go down into the specific subfolders as needed, like for planning and different subject areas. And so, like I said, when you're creating something new, go to the folder where it needs to live, which will just save you time. It's easy to put something in the right place, but it saves you some time. So I'll show you, like I said, don't do as I do, do as I say, not as I do all the time. So this is my Hamilton County account, and the view you're looking at right now is the recent view. Recent just means what have I opened, touched, edited, anything. It says today, and then earlier this week. So it gives you the ability to see things quickly that you have been working in. And so your main view would be My Drive. When you see My Drive, I mentioned color coding. I have only recently been taking some of my documents that are, like, all of this is new within the last couple of weeks. So I haven't taken the time to organize them. But you see, I color coded the distance learning resources folder so that I can just get to it quickly as I'm creating things for my students and sharing out. Easy to color code it. You right click on the folder, and then it'll have this little palette, and then you change the color. So, if there's some things that are just you need to find quickly, that's a great way to color code it. Interesting, it doesn't, if you're sharing a folder with someone, it doesn't color code their folder, just yours. So that's, if you tell someone open the pink folder, they're not going to know it's pink because it's not color coded in their drive. Just a little extra tip, when I was trying to select this folder to color code it, I don't have a mouse with me. So I took 2 fingers and I tapped the trackpad, and it automatically opens up the options just like if I had right clicked on a regular mouse. So that's a super useful tip for me. It just makes your life a little easier when you're navigating. But let me show you, let me go back to that. So let's say I want to create something for my littles. So here I am in my distance learning.
Hey, Monica, you might want to show them how to make a folder. Like if theirs is blank right now and they need to make a folder first.
Oh, okay. Good idea. Good idea. Okay. So when you're at your main drive, you're going to be hitting this plus. And then you can create a new folder here.
Yeah.
And then you can title it. I'll just title it test. And it comes up alphabetical order. So here it is. And let's say if I want to color code it, I'll make it pink like I mentioned. And so now if I open it, then I can make a file within this folder. And again, you use the new button. You can upload, you can create more folders within here, but you can upload files, PDFs, pictures, videos. You can upload a whole folder from your Microsoft, you know, your PowerPoint, your all of those documents. And then here's where you can create lots of documents. Always hit the more button because there are many, many different options of what you can create just through your Google Drive. Is that making sense for everyone? So in my role teaching pre-K, my students do not access Google tools all the time, but we use them for our learning daily, like constantly. And so for me, the different types of tools are very important because different tools serve for different purposes. So if you're looking at a Google Slides presentation, it's kind of like PowerPoint or some kind of really nice Word document, not Word document, word processing document that has lots of rich ability to put in video and images and that kind of thing. Or if you're an iPad person, it'd be like Pages. Then there's another one called Google Drawings that's more for like a one item poster. So several pages for slides, and then if you just need one thing, Google Drawings is a great way to go. And then Docs is just your
Hey, Monica.
word processing.
Hey, could you switch to the list view, because that's what most people are going to see by default if you go to your drive.
Okay, sure.
And then, yeah, go back to your home and then list view it.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
So are you seeing my drive? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know maybe if I changed this, but
It's,
over here in the corner, you see what looks like a piece of paper or maybe like a spreadsheet. It says list view. Click on that, and that is how your folders could be listed. I'm a visual person, and so I don't like that view, but thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, no worries. I like to say that that's the difference between dog people and cat people. You know, I'm all about list view because I like things organized like my files, unless I'm doing a lot of art. And if I'm looking at a lot of PDFs or something like that, I toggle back to the tile view because it kind of gives you a larger thumbnail of those PDFs or that piece of art. You can see it a lot easier as opposed to trying to remember what the name is. So, yeah, by default, it's going to be a list view for most people. And if you're a dog person, cat, I don't know which one's which, but if you like the other view, switch it to that. And
I'm
it's
not going to
basically
take offense to that at all. Well, let me show you an example of how that's going to look different. So here is my my pictures and videos for my classroom that I have on our Google site where, you know, people can see them. They all gave permission for them to be shown, so I hope I'm not doing anything wrong. But this is how I see it. But if what he's saying is he likes to see things mostly like this, which for images is not the best. But I see what you're saying about if it was just documents, you would, okay. Yeah, that's, I guess that makes me a, I guess that makes me a dog person, or is that a cat person? I don't know.
you can be whichever you want to be.
Yeah, is it? I'm definitely a too many tabs person, but I'm afraid to get rid of one. So I'm sure that bothers Mike too. Okay, so
No worries, no, not at all.
okay, good. So you know the tools are not the same. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me see if I used it on here. I think I did. So you can see the icon here in the corner of the tools. It shows you what you used to create it or what type it is. So this little red square with the circle and square, that's drawings. So that's more like your one page poster. This one is the Google document that is just basic typing, like a word processing. And then this yellow one is Google Slides. And so as I create something, like I said, that just needs to be one item, I'm not trying to make several things at a time or several pages at a time, then I do a drawing. But I really like to use Google Slides for things that are going to be several pages. Think of it like an ebook almost. I usually go over to the file menu and change the page setup so that it's like paper, 11 by 8.5 or vice versa, 8.5 by 11. So that, because most of the time for pre-K, I do print them out so that they can do something, you know, with their hands. But you can see this was 3 pages. And so what I did, you know, I created a slide deck. But then there's another one where I was just doing a letter to my families, and I needed it to be a little more forgiving than a Google document. Google documents can be frustrating because they lock you into that sort of word processing formatting that, you know, we learned in college, hopefully. But a Google drawing is just, you can do almost anything. So, you know, here's a little banner that I put in with some words. I changed the type to white. And then I added in this image of some literacy supports. Then I've got all, so, but I didn't have to fight with the constraints of a Google document, which are great if you are doing some formal writing, but I knew I just wanted to get my information out there. So a drawing, it's a 1-pager, and you can do all kinds of things with the Google drawing. It can be as tiny as an index card or as huge as a full wall poster, as long as you're able to print it out in multiple sheets. So the different tools are, you know, they have different specialities, I guess. So does anybody have a question about that? Are we good? If you're good, I'm going to show you how I made this slide deck, because I like things to look nice, but I don't want to spend a million years creating everything from scratch. You know, we want to be Google or designers, I guess, but you know, we don't have to be. But there's a website called Slides Mania, and so I got this template right off of Slides Mania a while back. You see there's a really cute one here. You could create, all of these backgrounds are ready to go in the template. So they have it for PowerPoint. If you are still using PowerPoint mostly, then each one you can choose. Do you want PowerPoint or do you want a Google slide presentation? So it's just very helpful to save you some time. I think good looking slides are more engaging. And as students are sitting at home staring at screens, if it's just a lot of text on a white background, it might be, you know, just kind of mind numbing for you and for them. And then, you know, for you, if you're not used to using them, or if that's just not your thing, it takes a long time to make slides that are, you know, that just have some pop. Now, Google Slides itself does have some themes and templates. Like you can, let's see, where's the theme? There's, where is the theme? Change theme down here. So let's say if I wanted to change this, Google Slides does have a few options that you have probably seen a lot, because many people will go to this side screen and use the templates that are there. So you do have those choices, but if you want something a little unique, something fun, you can go to that. And there were 2 other things that they wanted us to talk about. Google Classroom is one that, you know, with my little ones, I have not used. We don't have Google logins, but it's a way to create assignments. So Mike, since you're here, I did record the session from earlier, not record, but I did add a link on this image of the session you guys did earlier where Arthur was talking about Google Classroom. But what would be your best tips on that? for people just starting out?
Forgive me, I was chatting for a sec. So best recommendations for adding a link? Is that?
No, Google Classroom.
Do you want me to speak to Google?
Yeah, if you want to do
Classroom?
that.
Well, I
Sure.
just don't want to, I mean, I can speak out of a basic knowledge where I've been involved in a Google Classroom and I've used it a lot, several years ago, but I'm sure there are lots of things that are updated. So, I mean, as a teacher, I use it in my school. We do that for our faculty meetings and that, or faculty information. But as a teacher, what could you give people as recommendations to starting out?
Michelle, you want to take that?
Sure. Do you want to let me jump in so they can see my screen and I can walk them through getting on there?
Yes, I think I just stopped sharing.
Okay. So now I have to share. Okay. You have to forgive me. I've also been using Zoom for the other presentations, so switching to Google Meet. Okay. Can you see my screen yet?
No, you got to, when you go to share, you've got to say your entire
I
screen.
did. And share.
There you go. It's getting there.
Okay.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay. So for Google Classroom, what you guys can do is you'll log into Google with your icon here, and then you go to this waffle, as some people have been calling it, and you would go down here to the chalkboard looking thing that says Classroom and click Google Classroom. And if you've already set up classrooms like I have, you'll see this. As you can see here, I have several classrooms. But if you have not set up a classroom and you want to create one, you would hit the plus sign and do create class. And then you can name your class. I'll name this one Sandbox. And then hit create. You don't have to fill in these other things unless you want to. The only thing that's required is the class name. And then it takes it a second once you hit creating. Maybe, there we go. And so there you have your basic Google Classroom with nothing in it. If you want somebody to join your classroom, you can show them this code. So if you're using some sort of messaging tool with your parents, such as Remind, Class Dojo, email, whatever messaging tool, you could shoot this out to them with a little video on how to get on Google Classroom, and then they would be able to join using the code. And then you have these components as the teacher. The students will not see the grades component. They will only see the other three stream, the classwork, and the people. So under stream, I like to think of this like your Facebook newsfeed for those people who use Facebook. You can allow students to comment on here, or you can take that capability away if you're worried as to what will happen. But you can just put messages on here for everyone, and they will see it. So this is kind of like just a new news feed. They can add a comment, so on and so forth. And then the classwork component is the one that I think a lot of people have been using to upload classwork for students. So if you want to create an assignment for your students, you can hit create. Now, some people are getting fancy with it and you can create by topic. So for example, like in mine, I would have like a reading section because I'm self-contained. And then I could have another topic. That's my math section. And so I can add my assignments under those. So now I have these sections. Now I can create an assignment. So I can go to assignment and create, and I would title my assignment, and I could just say math review or 3-digit subtraction review. And then you could give instructions if you want additional instructions. And then if you want to create a review, you can hit create here and it will give you docs, slides, sheets, drawings, forms. You can create one. Or if you've already created something, you hit add and then you can place a link. You can go to your Google Drive. You can upload a file from your computer or from YouTube. So if I go to Google Drive, it's going to pull recent things that I've pulled up. And so, for example, here's my 3-digit math review template. I would just hit add and it will add the file there. Once I've added the file, I have 3 choices for how students will see this file. And because it's a doc, they can edit it if I give them access to edit it. So the student view, that would mean they can just read the file, they can make a copy of it, but they cannot change it. Students edit, if you use this one, they're all editing the same document. So it'd be like if you were collaborating and you wanted more than one person to be able to edit that document, you could do that. But most of the time you'll use make a copy for each student because you want each student to have their own copy. On the side here, you can change things. You can decide, do I just want it to go to this class, or I can add it to all of these classes that I have. Then here, the students, then you pick all students, or if you unselect this, I don't think it'll let you. I guess that's the way it's set up for us, so we can't do that in this one. And then you can do the points values, or you can put ungraded. So for example, I've been putting Kahoots up there. I might put ungraded for that because I'm not going to grade their Kahoot, but they'll get to go through and complete the Kahoot activity. You can set a due date and time. So you just decide when you want the students to have it completed by, or you can leave it blank. Totally up to you. And then topics, you can put it under a topic. So I want this because it's math. I want it under my math topic. I'm not going to do that, so I can show you the other way that you can put it under there if you don't do it originally. And then you can add a rubric. So like when I gave a writing assignment for the students, I just placed like the Hamilton County writing rubric, well, technically the state of Tennessee's writing rubric in there. And that would be create a rubric. Well, I could create one in here, or I can upload a rubric if you want to use that feature. Sorry. Any questions there? Then I would just hit assign because I'm done with this assignment.
Several people are asking about how to allow the students to answer questions, and I even saw that on Facebook. I know that Doc Hub, DOCHUB, and Kami, KAMI, are 2 extensions or add-ons that we can use to make a document, I guess you could say editable, not really. It's more like you could, like say you're completing a form.
Well, if you put it on as a Google Doc, they can edit it. So now on my screen, I'm logged in as one of my students. And so she gets to the classroom just like we do. She comes over here, she sees her class. So she's in my class, Ford's Forest Friends here. She will click here, and then when she wants to complete her assignments, she would go in through here. And so, for example, the math review I just showed you guys that I uploaded to my fake classroom, when she completes this to do it, she opens it, and she is simply able to now type in her answers.
I think the problem people are coming across is that they're finding really awesome worksheets or whatever online, and they're assigning them to students, but it's a PDF, and so they don't understand how a student would be able to write on that PDF and turn it in. And so I think that's where they're getting into the issue. They didn't create it.
Okay, so there's a few different things you can do. I think they took one of them off of here, but you can take a PDF and you can add text boxes over it where they can write. But
Yeah.
it's pretty, like, that's a pretty advanced topic. I'm not
That's what I
sure
was thinking.
if
Yeah.
are they covering that, Mike? Do you know, in any of the advanced sessions?
Uh,
Uh,
the advanced sessions run pretty fast and
Okay.
Yeah.
change every single time anybody does one. So
Yeah.
I've been recommending that to folks in the chat. If we're not going to get to it on this one, definitely
Okay.
go to one of the advanced sessions and just ask your question there. So
And I did notice that Jim David talked about Cami and Doc Hub for completing documents. I think it was this morning, probably in the advanced session. I could put a link in on this slide, or I could find a link to it and probably put it in the chat, or maybe somehow put it on the slides at the end if you want to go back and see what Jim's, because Jim demonstrated it very well. He was talking about having dyslexia and needing
Yep.
some additional supports, and he, Cami was one of those things that really helped him with lots of different things.
Okay, yes. So there are a few tools. If you have like a more advanced version of Adobe, then you can also edit and add text boxes to like previous worksheets. That way the students can type in. There's also some editing tools or drawing tools. If you put it in like a Google slide, then the students would have to know how to use those tools, but they could use drawing tools to write it in. But that also doesn't work as well if they're working with a mouse. That's much better with touchscreen, where they can, I don't know, write it in.
yeah, and all these tools are absolutely great and slightly advanced. We'll say intermediate to advanced for both you and your kids. Quick and dirty, you can always create a Google Doc and put questions on there and have students then through Google Classroom give a copy to each kid and then have the kids simply answer those questions.
So like I can show you an example of that. The first thing we did just to get the kids used to getting in Google, sorry, I went the wrong way, into like looking at an assignment was this relatives came. So we placed a link here and the students are actually getting to watch this person read the text. And then we just put a simple Google Doc with 4 questions. And this was really just so they practiced clicking links, opening this up, the very basics of using Google so that we're not overwhelming our students who some of them have not used this before.
I think this is a great option just for the beginning and keeping it simple, because you get what you need and you don't have to go to the intermediate level with the other things.
Yes. And then for people, under the people tab, any questions about classwork, I guess, before I move on? I think we've covered the basics. Okay, so for people, this is where you add collaborators. So this is mine. That's why there's not any dots there. But then I can add any other teachers I want to collaborate with me in my classroom. And so, for example, at our school, we have a whole list of people. We have the principal, the assistant principal, the, computer lab person, the gifted teachers, the speech teachers. So anybody that may need to use the classroom, the PE teacher, anybody that you can add them. And then the same thing with your class. So these are your students. If you want to manually invite them, then you can hit the plus and then you type in their Google email or their Gmail account, the student's account through Hamilton County, you type it in and then it'll invite them. And so they will get an email if they're checking their Gmail that sends them a link, and then they click that link and it takes them to Google Classroom, and then they can hit join. The easiest way people have told me is to send out the code, which again, the code is at the beginning. right here. And they would then just have to go to Google Classroom, and I'll show you that one. They would just have to go to Google Classroom, and where it says join, they hit, the plus sign, and they hit join class, and they type this code in here to join the class. Any other Google Classroom questions?
Yeah, and Janet was saying if all else fails, just let them answer it on paper and snap a screenshot. That always works,
Yes.
That always works. Well, let's see. Did you stop sharing?
I did.
Okay. So there was one last thing that someone asked me to do, and if someone has a different thing, let me know. We have about 15 minutes for our time slot here. So someone wanted me to show them what I was talking about when using a Google slide presentation in a classroom, kind of like a one-stop shop. Let's say you don't want to jump into classroom just yet, or maybe your parents don't have access to all of that. They have to get it in there quickly. Sometimes people are just going to take their lesson plan idea or their workflow for the students and turn it into a slide deck. So what I do is I create something called daily slides. And I just have it, basically I do it just like I did before, where I take out the edit up here and I put in the word preview. And so in pre-K, we talk about the question of the day. And then this was my big reminder that, please get your germs off of me. Can y'all see that?
We can.
Yes.
Okay. So the thing that, like these videos I use for all sorts of things. I have videos for movement. I have, videos for, like, this is counting. So when I share videos, I don't go to YouTube. I go to, let me get out of this and I'll show you. I embed it into my slide. And so that way I have more control over what's happening with the video. So like this video here was inserted from YouTube. So I'm going to delete this and start over with it, and I'll show you what I did. You can get rid of all these boxes by selecting them and deleting. But if you'll go to the insert menu and then go to video. So that was the Dr. Jean nursery rhyme. And so there it is. You have to select it when it turns blue. You can only do one at a time. Select it and it will put it right here. You can change the size of it, make it bigger or smaller. But the nice thing about this is that your video will only play within your presentation. So you can also change so format options. You can change when it starts and when it stops. So some videos have a really long intro. So if I wanted to change this to start, 5 seconds in, I change it. If I only want them to watch 1 minute of it, I can change that. And so it's changing the playback feature. So when I present this, you can see it plays. Whoops. That's what she said. So it plays the video right in the presentation. So you don't have to worry. Your students aren't going to be taken to YouTube and seeing all the extra videos. So that was one thing that people asked me to show, how you could control the videos within the slide presentation, change the start and stop times. But and I do like this basically is a flow of my day. So I've got my rest time videos, like all this stuff at the end is extras. But all the resources I need for the day, I put in one slide deck. You could do that for your students and then embed a way for them to answer questions.
Hey, Monica, can I jump in here real quick and just answer a couple of questions that were in the chat? that are
Yes.
that take a little bit longer than a chat response.
Sure.
So if you'll stop presenting, I'll present and show a couple of things real quick.
Go right ahead. My husband's printing, so if you hear a weird noise, it's not a monster
Right.
robot. It's my husband. Greg Bagby's embedding a form that he wants people to try to give them feedback on, and for you to sign up for more assistance. So that link is for your support.
Okay. So first question first. All right, people were asking about Screencastify earlier, and I know that's kind of an advanced topic, but I just wanted to show you where that is and how you can get to where you can see it. All right, so again, back to kind of the beginning. Good grief, my email. Back to the beginning thing that I was talking about, where you sign in up here, you definitely want to be synced. If you are not synced, you won't see these right here. These are all your Chrome extensions. And of those extensions, well, I'll point out a few of them. There's your Google Drive. That's a quick way to get there. There's Google Classroom. That's a quick way to share something to Google Classroom. It is not the full-blown Google Classroom. If you really want to operate with all the bells and whistles, you will not use it through the extension. But then this one right here is Screencastify. It looks like an arrowhead pointing to the right and kind of an orange-pink color. Screencastify has been pushed out to every Hamilton County account, and that includes all student accounts as of yesterday or this morning. So even your kids should have this ability. Now, I'm not going to go through how to do Screencastify. That is a whole other training session. We don't have time for it yet. But what I'm saying is, if you don't see any of these extensions up here, you are not signed in and you're not able to use them. So again, signing in into Chrome is crucial to be able to do these things. Now, the other question that came up that I want to answer quickly was, what happens after you give an assignment to kids in Google Classroom? What do you do with it then? And Michelle had that on her screen. Michelle had that on her screen. But I want to show you what that
Do you want me to
looks
pull it
like.
back up?
I can do it in mine real quick
Okay.
here with one that I've got. Okay, so let's see. Well, I say that and get one that's well, fine. I'll just do this one. All right. So it was also mentioned that you can have more than one people or more than one person teaching a Google Classroom. This is a class that I am currently a co-teacher in with Miss Lacey at Lookout Valley Elementary. So when you create an assignment, that assignment gets sent out to the kids. And here's an example of one of those assignments that we sent, well, back in February. Notice the kids didn't do it because this was just a sample teaching her how to do some of this stuff. When you send that assignment out to the kids, it will be assigned to every kid in the classroom. Notice that 22 assigned. So if I click that, it's going to give me every single kid that received that class or that assignment that's in her classroom. And then the 0 is the number of kids that have turned it in. Now, if any of these kids did the assignment, opened up the assignment and turned it in, that number would change to 1, and it does it live. Okay. And it would be great if I had one that was actually, let's see.
Beth wants to know what you do once they turn it in. So maybe, I guess, an explanation of the grades feature, or
Got it.
Or where you see that. I guess you're doing where you see the work.
I can pull it
Yeah,
up and
let's
show
see.
you where to grade it, where I've graded them if you don't have one.
Well, I've got one that's, this is all of my classes are for teachers. So maybe if you showed one for kids, do you have one
Yes.
where you got grades? Okay, that would be better. So
Okay.
back to Michelle.
Okay. So can you see my screen yet?
Yep.
Okay.
coming up.
So I'm going to go to my actual classroom instead of this one that we're playing in today. So there's two ways. You can go to assignments and you can click on each assignment and it tells you who's done it. So like you see this one, I've assigned it to 14. I've graded 2 of them. 3 people have turned them in. That means 3 people, that doesn't count the 2. So it's like 5. 5 people have turned it in, but I've graded 2 of those 5, if that makes sense. So to grade these, when I go to grades, this is like a grid of all the assignments I have. So these are all the assignments, and anybody that's turned it in has one of those hundreds that are blank next to them until you grade it, and then it puts a solid grade. So for like, you see Daniel here, he got 100 on this assignment. My friend Madison here got a 95 on this assignment. So to grade it, I can click on the student or the assignment. So if I click on the student, so like see Ansley's turned a lot of things in today that I haven't graded. I click on Ansley and it pulls up everything that she's turned in. And then I can open it up and go through and grade it. So when I open this screen, I put the grade here, but I can also put comments here. One example for like Ansley today, she did writing from a picture, and this is where we gave them a picture and we gave them a sentence and they could write. And the first time she submitted it, she just had one sentence instead of continuing it into a story. So I returned it to her, and in the comments I asked her to turn it into a story, so then she can resubmit it to me so that I can see it again. That way I could regrade it when it becomes a story instead of just one sentence added to the sentence starter that we had given her. Does that answer your question? Remember, I can't see the chat, so somebody will have to tell me.
You good, Beth?
Now, if we like, so I think somebody in the chat when I was reading them earlier asked like how I delete something, which would be like when I'm in the classwork, if I don't want this assignment or I put an assignment in that I didn't want, these 3 little dots downwards, I click on them and I can edit this assignment, delete the assignment, or copy the link to the assignment. So if I edit it, then I can change it. If I delete it, it goes away. It's no longer in the classroom. If I copy the link, so because I'm a teacher on other, like all the other teachers in my school, I could click on another teacher if I had copied the link and put the assignment here via a link.
And Beth asked, so once it's graded, do you return? Isn't that what you usually do? You return it back to the students so they can see what they got or have the feedback that you gave them?
Yes. So once you grade it, it kicks it back to them and they can open it and see what you, so like once I grade it, it'll kick it back to them and then they can see my comments. So like, for example, Ansley, I kicked that writing back to her and I got a notification just a second ago while we were here that she has resubmitted it. So now I can go back and see her resubmission of that assignment. Some of them will go back and look at them. Some of them may not.
And we have 1 minute. So there's a form down there for more information that if you want to get more info, I put in a link to the slides. So it also has a link to the form. So if there's any way that we can help you further, you can reach out that way.
Absolutely.
There's still a couple of folks that want me to hang out to troubleshoot Screencastify. I think we can stay in the chat. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Do you want me to stop recording or leave it for people so they can catch that also?
I don't know how official this will be. So,
Well, I will stop recording. Thank you so much for your
yeah,
hour of helpfulness. I appreciate it so much. And people are saying thank you. It's great. So may the
right.
Googles be with you. All right. I'm going to stop
That's
recording.
right. Great job, guys.
Thank you. I'm going to sign out because I have another webinar.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Still haven't stopped recording. Hold on. I got to figure that out.
No worries.
Greg, how do you stop recording? All right. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out. I'm pushing the recording button. It's not stopping. So hold on. Over here, stop recording.